Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Minister of Transport says police will soon be equipped with speed guns. Municipal police officers will now receive the same $1,000 allowance given to their national counterparts. And the Department of Geography of the University of the West Indies hosts Geography Awareness Week 2013. Thank you for joining us. The People's Partnership Government is committed to democracy and free press. Reconfirmation of this came from the Honorable Kamla Persad-Bissessar, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, on Thursday as she hosted the annual media luncheon. The PM's statement was echoed and reaffirmed by the Honorable Gerald Hadid, Minister of Communications, who praised members of the media for taking time to attend the function. He noted that despite their differences, both groups wanted the same outcome.
The Honorable Gerald Hadid, Minister of Communications, in his welcome remarks, noted that both government and the media, despite diverse means, were working feverishly to uphold the same democracy. He said both wanted a better Trinidad and Tobago.
That what we all have in common is that we work hard and to the best of our ability to make Trinidad and Tobago the best it can be and to ensure that our country is on the right path to sustainable development. We all want a higher standard of living and a better quality of life for all of our people. We all have our own perspectives. We may come from different directions, but in the end, if we pursue our dreams of national unity and sustainable national development, we will all achieve the same and have the same vision.
Telling the story of the three wise men who presented the baby Jesus with special gifts, Minister Hadid said media and government were about the same. The wise men, he said, were from different cultures, journeyed and ended at the same point, unity.
Following a bright star high in the sky, they all had different gifts. They all had different histories and cultures, but in the end, they arrived at the same place at the same time. The miracle of Christmas was not just the birth of Christ, but was the unity of purpose displayed by the three wise men who came from different cultures. It was a convergence that we all in Trinidad and Tobago will eventually achieve. There will always be friction. When a new car is bought, the parts need to smooth themselves out so they can work together harmoniously and effectively. But eventually, they fit smoothly together, each doing its part, and after a little time, they unite to propel the vehicle forward. I want to say that excellence is a moving target, and even as the journey of the wise men was not altogether smooth, our pathway to excellence in our respective positions will not always be smooth. But we are people of goodwill, and today is an example of our willingness to demonstrate and share that goodwill.
Minister Hadid said further evidence of government's commitment to democracy is in the latest accolade bestowed on the Honorable Prime Minister. Mrs. Persad-Bissessar was awarded the International Association of Political Consultants, IAPC, 2013 Democracy Medal for working courageously to foster, promote and sustain the democratic process in the world. Felicia Wilson-Moore, News 4.
In other news, in an effort to ensure safer roads, police will soon be equipped with speed guns. This comes as the Minister of Transport, the Honorable Stephen Cadiz, announces a crackdown on errant drivers.
Speed detection devices, or speed guns as they are commonly termed, have been used around the world by police officers as a method of detecting drivers who refuse to drive within the speed limit. The devices will now be used by police officers in Trinidad and Tobago to catch speeding motorists. Speaking at Thursday's post-cabinet news conference, Transport Minister Stephen Cadiz says the issue of speeding must be addressed, and given the advances in technology, now is an opportune time to tackle the problem.
We all know that the issues of speed is very relevant to today's issues when it comes to road accidents. Speed, of course, plays a major part in all of these. And with a modern highway system where you have not only dualing of highways, but you have 3 and 4 lanes in some areas, it's extremely difficult with the old-fashioned way of what they call timing on speed traps. That went out with, as I say, with cable brakes. And we are now going to be using modern handheld devices of a type very similar, of course, as to what are being used in other areas, in other jurisdictions. In addition to that, what we're going to have is the Attorney General is going to have to change the current regulation as it is, which is not going to be a problem for us. So the Attorney General will be determining that regulation that has to be changed.
Minister KD says a tender will soon be sent out, and he expects the speed guns to be in use by Carnival next year.
We would expect that those speed devices would be in use by February of next year. It would take, depending on the delivery. From what we have seen, the delivery period is not extensive. These devices will be used by police officers, both in the highway patrol cars and also in various ways along the highway. So again, finally, it has happened. We have talked about this for long enough, and we will be seeing these speed devices in as part of our daily control on the roads. We expect to have about roughly 400 devices, which will be spread across all the various police divisions. So each area, each division, Trinidad and Tobago, will actually have devices available for use by the police officers.
Minister KD says there are currently no plans to review the speed limit, as first, there must be an efficient way to enforce it, something he says the speed guns will provide. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
Municipal police officers will now receive the same $1,000 allowance given to their national counterparts. This has been revealed by Minister of Local Government, Senator the Honorable Marlene Coudray.
Almost 400 municipal police officers will receive a total of $14 million in back pay. This, as all municipal police officers are now entitled to a special duty allowance, which will be granted retroactively. Previously, only members of the National Police, Fire and Prison Service received the allowance.
This allowance was approved in September of 2010, with effect from October 2010 to members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and was later extended to members of the Fire Service and Prison Service. And the municipal police officers were not included. This morning this was corrected, and Cabinet agreed that this payment will be extended to all municipal police officers, 394 of them from the 1st October as indicated, 2010. The arrears will total approximately $14 million.
Minister Coudray reiterates the allowance will be given to municipal police officers who fall under the Ministry of Local Government.
The 14 municipalities, 9 of them, the 9 regions and the borough of Chaguanas, which fall under the Ministry of Local Government, the Port of Spain City Police, San Fernando City Police, Point Fortin Borough Police and Arima Borough Police.
Minister Coudray adds municipal officers in Tobago will not be included in the agreement, as they will fall under the Tobago House of Assembly and not the Ministry of Local Government. The officers will be entitled to approximately $36,000 each in retroactive payments. Gregory McBurney, News 4.
News 4 continues after the break. Stay with us. The HMS Lancaster is here in Trinidad and Tobago, docked at the Port of Spain port until Monday. Crew members from the UK's Royal Navy warship invited News 4 on board to give us an idea what their deployment to the Caribbean has so far yielded and what life on deck is like.
Sailing on the high seas of the Caribbean until December 1st is the HMS Lancaster. The 133 meters long warship prides itself as being the honorary vessel to Queen Elizabeth II, the Duke of Lancaster. They've been in the region for the past 7 months, here to lend support in case of emergencies during the hurricane season, humanitarian aid when needed, as well as share techniques during training with local regiments. Here in the Caribbean since May, the vessel set sail to their base following December 1st, when the season ends. The Lancaster has also been involved in a number of anti-drug operations here in the region. However, Lieutenant Adrian Gubby gave us an idea just what kind of ship the HMS Lancaster is, its history, and some of the high-profile voyages it's been involved in, together with its allies from across the globe.
So HMS Lancaster was built and commissioned into the Royal Navy in 1992, and over the 21 years that she's been in service, she's been to the Arabian Gulf, the Indian Ocean, she's been to the Caribbean before, and her next trip in 2015 is to the South Atlantic, so she'll visit the west coast of Africa and South America, so she has been all over the world. She's unique to the fact that there's 13 of her, in the Royal Navy. She's unique because she's HMS Lancaster, so she's the Queen's frigate. So the Queen is our lady sponsor, and we're very proud to have her as our sponsor. I suppose, she's being out here really. I think that is unique in that respect. The other types of class are in the Arabian Gulf. There's one at the moment, and there's another one in the Indian Ocean. So,
apart from interacting with locals at British territories, their presence in the Caribbean Sea has yielded tons of narcotics on its way to drug dealers in the region. Working together with members of the Defence Force and military personnel at visiting locations, they've assisted in the combat against illegal drugs and transshipment in the region, proof of the impact they've had on the Caribbean during their visit. The lieutenant shared some of what has been achieved so far.
Many different trips over a long period of time. I'll probably focus on the current one. So our counter-narcotics operation since we've been out in the Caribbean will be hugely successful. We've captured 1.1 tons of cocaine and 1.5 tons of marijuana, and also been part of other 2 interdictions where we stopped those drugs trafficking, although unfortunately they ditched the drugs before we could pick them up. And it's been hugely successful. But also we've wider regional engagement with our British overseas territories and Commonwealth nations and our friends and in the Caribbean. We did an exercise with South American nations and the US, which has been very successful as well. So really we've been very busy over the 6 months that we've been here.
Trinidad and Tobago is their second to last stop before heading back to their base in Portsmouth in time for Christmas with their families. And some of the memories they intend to share with their loved ones will most likely include the many adventures experienced during their deployment here in the Caribbean.
I think the biggest success was Montserrat when we were there, and we sent out about 6 different teams, and we re-roofed a couple of local people's houses. We fitted new doors and windows to another property. We painted a hospital. Hugely successful and a sort of an old people's home as well. Really successful, and they were really grateful for our help there. And as such a one of the poorer nations within the Caribbean, it was perhaps more appreciated than some of the other stops that we've been. British Virgin Islands, as an example, didn't really need us to do anything, and nor did Bermuda. But we were there and we offered our services.
With over 195 crew members on board for over 8 months in a region that's known for its hot, sunny weather, as compared to the cold, foggy Portsmouth, UK, surely one would like to know what's a day in the life of a sailor on board the HMS Lancaster.
It's a fairly unique lifestyle, but everyone goes to work in the morning, everyone finishes in the evening. We eat 3 meals a day on board. Lots of people do physical activity, so they'll do sort of running around the upper deck or do circuits on a daily basis, do a few weights. Work varies depending on the day, so if we're in the middle of counter-narcotic operations, we're very busy flying the helicopter and putting the boats out into the water to do boardings. Outside of that time we do lots of training and be ready for any sort of eventualities, so be that any of the 3 focuses that we're here in the Caribbean.
During the Lancaster's stop here in Trinidad and Tobago, it's expected that Commanding Officer Stephen Morehouse will hand over the helm to a new captain, Commander Peter Lawton. Kimberly Calloway, News 4.
The Tobago House of Assembly's 7th Annual Tobago Economic and Business Outlook Conference took place recently, one aspect of the largest Finance Week celebration, which began on November 11th and ended on the 15th. Patricia Nicholson has more.
Among the cadre of presenters was Dr. Ralph Henry, who is the chairman of the board of directors at Kyrie Consultants Limited. Dr. Henry elaborated on the main issues and challenges affecting Tobago's economic growth and development. Referring to THA's CEDP 1.0, he said it painted the vision of a Tobago that was going to be clean, green, safe and serene, and one that provided a path for development within the period 2006 to 2010. The most recent CEDP plans, he says, seeks to chart the way forward to Tobago's development over the period 2013 to 2017. But while reviewing the first plan, CEDP 1.0, before preparing the second plan, some challenges were realized.
And we identified a mixed bag of weaknesses in some areas and of successes in a number of other areas. There was a lack of awareness in a number of quarters of what CEDP 1.0 was all about. Another problem identified had to do with the absorptive capacity on the island and the difficulty this posed for mega projects. The THA has also had to reckon with high staff turnover among its personnel.
But there were achievements coming out of the first plan. According to Dr. Henry, Tobago has seen the expansion of the economic infrastructure, including the establishment of the Cove Eco Park, and also in the form of physical infrastructure, where roads, housing, and community centers are concerned. Dr. Henry continued that CEDP 2.0 anticipates greater devolution to the THA to a model that is more federal in spirit and an empowered and active civil society with the individual citizen self-assured and self-actualizing in the Tobago space. Another presenter, economist Dr. Shelton Nichols, addressed Tobago's development program and its financing challenges. He said Tobago cannot be a net recipient of transfers from the central government.
This will not give Tobago the fillip that it needs to effect the necessary economic transformation, to enable it to really play an important role in national diversification and in the entire developmental effort, both for Tobago as an island and for the country as a whole.
He advised the THA to look into bond financing strategies with the government to boost the Tobago financial status.
My approach to thinking about this bond financing strategy as one avenue really looks at maybe 5 issues. Identifying those priorities, assessing the budget for the development program, designing feasible projects, assessing the revenue flows and financing gaps, determining the quantum of financing that you want to raise and how you phase it, and of course, actually developing the bond financing program.
The conference saw quite a number of regional and national financial experts taking part in the event, asking questions and providing solutions for the growth and development of Tobago. Reporting from Tobago, Patricia Nicholson, News 4.
Sport is up right after the break. Stay with us. Olympic and FINA World Championship medalist George Bovell returned home following a medal-laden season on the FINA swimming circuit. Bovell sat down with Wayne Cunningham and shared some interesting stories, as well as his desire to pass on knowledge.
To pass on knowledge and coach and so forth?
You know, I think that growing up and coming out of Trinidad onto the world stage, I've had a lot more challenges than if I was coming out of Germany or United States or Canada. I've had to go away, I've had to sacrifice a lot. I mean, even now at home, we lack some of the facilities that my rivals and my competition enjoy. And because of these challenges, I feel that if I can't affect the situation, who else really can? And I want to make sure that when I leave the sport, that Trinidad and Tobago on the world scene in swimming is not just a flash in the pan. I want it to be something that 10, 15 years from now I can really follow, look back on, and hopefully continue to contribute to with a lot of satisfaction that yes, you know, look, we're doing it, we're continuing to do it, and I have a very small part to play in that.
A lot of athletes throughout the Caribbean, I was in Jamaica recently, and they always touch on the fact that Trinidad and Tobago athletes have a big advantage with regards to, you know, government funding and elite funding and so forth. Is it really that big an advantage?
Compared to most other, well, I wouldn't say Trinidad and Tobago is a developed nation yet, but compared to other developing nations, yes. We do fund our athletes with a very credible meritocracy. You know, you have to be top 10 in the world, you have to get a medal at Pan Ams or CAC, different set standards. But if you compare this to other actually developed nations like the United States, Canada, Germany, you know, we're still not quite at that level.
All right. Is coaching in your future?
There are times when I think I would really enjoy coaching, and I would love to continue to share in that excitement and that drama of sport and have an invested interest in it. And I know that I know so much about this one little thing that I probably will never know as much about anything else. And it's times when I feel like that I think, yes, I would love to coach. But at the same time, it comes down to where you want to live. And I think to be a coach in Trinidad, there are a lot of challenges. You know, right now, facilities, and we have a mentality of people who really, the average person does not want to sacrifice. They're not willing to do what it takes.
You get up at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, it's not easy. And if it was easy, everybody would do it. And people in China, people in America, they have that work ethic. And in Trinidad, only a couple people do. Most of the people, it's something we need to change.
Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sport.
News 4 continues after the break. The Department of Geography of the University of the West Indies St. Augustine campus is hosting Geography Awareness Week 2013 with a series of events. Now, according to UE Geo Department, Geography Awareness Week represents an opportunity for the Caribbean and more specifically the Trinbagonian geographic community to connect with the public on matters and issues of mutual interest and concern.
The theme for this year's Geography Awareness Week is New Age of Exploration. It is aligned with National Geographic's 125th anniversary theme of the same, focusing on how geography enables everyone in some way. Awareness Week is observed and celebrated from November 17th to 23rd every year. Delivering the feature address at UE Geographic Information System Education Workshop, UE graduate and geography teacher Nadira Kalu said that geography in the secondary school syllabus has been marginalized. Kalu said more emphasis is being placed on social studies over geography, and this is worrisome as there is no strong foundation in this subject area for CSEC students.
From Forms 1 to 3, both geography and history has been lumped under social studies. This means that students are not getting a strong foundation in geographical skills, especially, and this makes teaching at the CSEC Form 4 and Form 5 level very difficult.
Ms. Kalu shared an example of the complexity faced by students.
I teach at Bonaire Secondary. The students that we get are in the lower percentile of the SCA results. So with my students, if you don't repeat a topic like map reading, measuring distances, it poses a lot of problem. It took me a month to teach reading linear scales to my Form 4s because it wasn't something that they learned well in Form 1 or Form 2 or Form 3. So I have to take baby steps when I'm teaching.
In 2004, the Ministry of Education requested the geography program after a shortage of specialists in this area. The subject was then introduced in 2005. Felicia Wilson-Moore, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communications. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.